Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com for November 28th, 2007. Well, I got this giant smile on my face today and I'm half exhausted, and I'll explain why as we get into the market analysis here today. And lo and behold, we finally saw that follow-through that I've been expecting for a few days now, and we saw it in a ginormous way to the upside here as the NASDAQ and the Dow and the S&P all roared higher. And we're not talking about a small move up here. On the NASDAQ, we're talking about a huge move up. We saw the Dow gaining 331% points, or 2.55%, with the NASDAQ moving up 82 points, or 3.18%, and the S&P moving up almost 41 points, which is 2.86%. Now, we just mentioned before how this was somewhat expected. Obviously, those of you that have been watching these videos over the last few days, you guys know I keep on saying it's all about the follow-through. It's all about the follow-through. Eventually, we're going to have 2 days in a row where we rally, and today was that day. Believe it or not, today was the first time this month we had 2 consecutive days up. Okay, and obviously you see the result of that. Ginormous rally. You have the NASDAQ up 40 and change yesterday, now 82 points today. Just a beautiful move higher. And the smile on my face, not only because I figured this was coming, but because the chat room and myself took well advantage of this, accumulating small positions of these smaller stocks which have been depleted over the last couple weeks in this major downturn, knowing that this was fully going to happen most likely, and then taking advantage of day trading today in all the crazy moves up today, and just banking good money all day in the chat room. And that's partly the smile right there. People in the chat room took well advantage of it, and very proud of them as they banked tons of money, as well as I did myself. Just to show you, for instance, one play, and this one I actually showed yesterday, and I watch this one for tomorrow, CHNR. All right, you're talking about CHNR here. This stock was up $3 to $18.83. So you're talking about a $15 stock that moved up $3. This was highlighted on this report yesterday, and we showed you the stochastics had dead bottomed here. We showed you this little bottom right here, and we showed you this decline, which was just begging for a bounce. All right, you're not even talking about just a little bounce coming. You're talking this kind of angle here, where it comes down basically in line with this angle right here, with this bottom in right here, is perfect for a bounce, just begging for a bounce. You combine that with positive fundamentals and a market that was just begging to rally 2 days in a row. Dead bottom there, boom, up. Look at that huge move, $3 move on a $15 stock. You can't beat that. In addition, we also caught multiple other plays today, which I'll get into and in a little while. But first, let's talk a little bit about the market. Let's first go to the ES futures. And the futures traded 2.4 million contracts today, which is nice volume. No doubt about that. That's good volume. And let me get my trend tool out here so we can talk some business. All day, just constantly up. Not much more to say about that than this intraday chart. You look at yesterday's chart, you saw massive volatility. If you go back to the video yesterday, we talked about the volatility, the upswings. NASDAQ 20 points up, 20 points down, 20 points up, 20 points down. Today, constantly up. Look at this trend. Just a non-stop trend here. All right? You can almost draw lines here, and it almost stays. I mean, it goes out of it a little bit here, and it comes back in. But for the most part, until this candle here, there's no candle very big at all. It was a constant push-up, which is, again, eventually going to have that. You had somewhat of a relief rally. You had some Fed speak today, which indicated another rate cut is on the way. And while most of us that deal in dollars, as I do living in the United States in New York, say, oh great, so now my dollars are going to be worth even less and oil should go up, we might not like the idea of the dollar getting weaker. The Fed is indicating that they will cut the dollar, cut the interest rates again, which should cause the dollar to lose a little value again. However, I will say this. At this point, basically another rate cut was baked in the cake already. Yesterday, it indicated, or the Fed funds futures indicated a 70% chance of a rate cut, and today it basically was confirmed. So it was almost all baked in the cake already. So, no big deal there. It looks like we will get another rate cut, or at least the market is speculating we will. Bernanke talks tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That should be very, very key to listen to, and we will be right on top of that, obviously, in the chat room, discussing it and listening to what he says. Now, oil did drop today. Inventory data came out, and we talked a little bit about this chart. We talked a little bit about oil and the USO chart yesterday showing this M pattern. And we said, well, there's a possibility of a bounce here because we came down to the 20 moving average. Should we not bounce here and go down lower and close below, well, then you have an M pattern forming. And that's exactly what you have now. Whether or not we go a little lower or not, I don't know, but at some point we're going to create the A pattern most likely. An A pattern, which is a bounce up, a small bounce up, and then the completion of the MA pattern, which is the A coming hard down again. We're probably going to come to at least this level here at the 50 moving average. If not, maybe a little lower. You never know. Right on this chart, I'm seeing the 50 moving average here is support, as well as this little bottom right here, which could be support as well. So you could have these possible two lines right in here as dual support areas right in this general area, probably some near-term support. Should that get broken, well, then you're talking about possibly somewhere in this realm here to here. Anywhere in between these two lines would probably be the next stop. All right, and you can see this kind of consolidation period here. That's where it's showing you support if it comes down again there. But for the near term, you got to look for maybe a small push down and then a bounce. Okay, eventually you've basically lost $7 in oil price, in oil per barrel. In the past couple days, you're going to have a bounce. It's just a matter of, do we see another push down first, one more push down, and then the bounce, which might indicate a move to the 50 moving average, or do we see the bounce in the next day or two and the move up? Okay, so keep that in mind. Now also what I want to go over here is the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ, this is the tremendous chart, and I love technicals and I love moving averages because we can really go over this stuff. We saw how this chart came down here. You saw the M pattern formation here, and again, I love this MA pattern because it's so prevalent in this market right now. Then you had the A pattern here, but we never confirmed the move down, and I go over this almost every day, how you had a close here below the 200. This is the 200 moving average. You had a close below the 200, but then the next day gapped up. You had another close below, but then the next day moved up. So any way you cut it here, you had never had a confirmation move below that 200. And again, you didn't have it today, and then you have the spike up today on the NASDAQ coming basically right head-to-head here with the 20 moving average. So not only that, but we've already moved back up to the 20 moving average. So the question is begged now, is this just a 2-day rally because it was so ginormous, or do we have another push up or a consolidation day and one more push up possibly before we start to maybe pull back a little bit again? I don't think personally that this is it, but we might have a little more upside potential in this market before we kind of give way and come back to the lows, possibly retest these lows. Now, what's interesting about this market is a couple things. One is that you got to look at sentiment. Sentiment is so key. All right, today in the media, everyone was a bull all of a sudden, and I love to see that because that's telling me when it's so easy to switch back to being a bull, that means the market's not bottomed out yet. Now, it could mean near term we bounce, which we obviously are right now, and we might continue that. So please understand that. I'm not saying that we're going to go right back down, but I'm saying at some point over the next probably month or 2 or 3 months, we're going to retest those lows, maybe take out the lows, and so forth. Because when people quickly shift their position back to bullish, that usually does signal that we're not done. And that the best time for a bottom in the market, and when you know you're making a bottom in the market, is when you have these bounces in the market and everyone still says, oh, we're bear, we're bear, we're bear, we're going to go lower, we're going to go lower. That's when you say, oh, well, hey, if everyone's saying we're going to go lower and we're consolidating here, this is probably near the bottom, and then you can go long. It works both ways on the tops and on the bottoms. But what you'll find is that sentiment is everything here, and you read charts, you do technical analysis, you understand psychology, you do read a couple books on psychology and understand the contrarian viewpoint, along with technical chart reading, and you will be a much better trader from that. I promise. Okay, NASDAQ again, looking at the intraday chart. What can you say, guys? Look at this. Just pretty much constant move up all day. Stayed relatively in this trend. We never really broke below the 20 moving average. We did right here at the end of the day, but they quickly saved the market and pushed it back up. All right. Just going over a couple of the main plays today. Google. Beautiful bounce again. Look at this is the bounce we've had lately on Google. And one thing I want to point out here, guys, and if you remember going back to last Friday and last Wednesday when the market was open, and especially last Wednesday when we got hammered, I kept on saying, guys, I think this market is going to bounce. I think it's going to bounce. And one of the main reasons I said that was because of the Qs. The rest of the market had broken below its 200. You look at the NASDAQ, the SPY, the S&P, the Dow, the DIA. Anything you look at, you basically saw, and I'll go to the SPY for perfect example, you saw a breakdown below the 200 and it just ugly charts. And on the NASDAQ, again, ugly chart. You got a breakdown below the 200 right here, right? But then I looked at the Qs, and this was my indicator. I said, well, here we bottomed out here, and then since then we've been consolidating. We haven't broken down. And the reason being is that Google, Research in Motion, Baidu, and Apple have been the strong players out there. And if those aren't going to break down, you got to assume we have a bounce. And we never did even come close to breaking this. We touched it again, and then we started to bounce, and that was one of the indicators. And I said that on the videos, that unless those stocks break down, chances are you're going to have a near-term bounce in the market, and that's exactly what we've seen. And going back to Google's chart, you can see this move up we've had lately. Apple, pretty much the same thing. And these are all leading indicators, in my opinion, of where the market's going. Okay? And these were moving up when the market was still bottoming out last Wednesday, and that was a great indicator, in my opinion, of an ensuing bounce. All right, great day in the day trading chat room. Come join the day trading chat room. If it's going to be like today, it's a phenomenal experience. You're just going to learn so much and hopefully make some great trades as well. In addition, the swing trade alerts, the options alerts, everything you could possibly want, private consulting, it's offered. Have a wonderful day, guys. Hopefully I see you all in the chat room sometime soon with me, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.